Welcome back to the YellowCard Vanguard channel. I'm your host, Toku from It's Toku TV on Twitch. Every Monday, I'm streaming Vanguard content. And the past few Mondays, we've been brewing up clan collection lists and testing them, so swing on by to be part of the process. Day 13 of clan collection, and we are now on Nectars. Nectars gets to bloom their talents with Musketeer support. Boy, that was weak. Regardless, Nectars got some really cool support in Vera and Saul, which unfortunately are pseudo-restricted to Musketeer names. However, there are a lot of good cards with the Musketeer name in Nectar's card pool, and as such, made building for Vera and Saul very easy, and also did not give me a headache trying to figure out the best cards to throw in. The new grade 3 is Lyrical Musketeer Vera. Once per turn, as a Vanguard, you can counterblast 1 and retire 2 rearguards. This will then let you return any 2 cards from your drop zone to the bottom of your deck. Check the top 5 of your deck and superior call 2 units to rearguard and shuffle. If you call 2 Musketeers, Vera gains a drive for the turn. Secondly, if your opponent is grade 3 or higher and you have Saul in your front row, all of your front row rearguards gain the power and trigger effects that Vera would have gotten. The first effect is great. The lightning on flavor is there with the returning of triggers, so if the game goes long enough, your deck becomes very compressed and the extra drive becomes that much more threatening. The second effect also makes each trigger more potent and allows for even more power distribution among your rearguards. The main thing to notice is that the first skill is not restricted to having your opponent at grade 3. The new grade 2 is Licorice Musketeer Saul. On placement, you can Soul Blast 1 and retire a rearguard. This replaces it with another unit from top 3. Furthermore, if you call the trigger, you can counterblast 1 to activate said trigger's effects. Obviously, this works great with Vera in conjunction with her second skill to threaten front row crits, but then with Vera's first skill right after, you can convert the trigger into another viable unit and send the trigger back to deck 2. Next up is the grade 1, Water Lily Musketeer Ruth. On ride, you can superior spawn a plant token, but if your opponent is grade 1 or higher, you can make 2 instead. On the rear, when this unit or another unit is placed from the deck, you can retire this unit and countercharge. This is a great method of countercharge, and having the option to use it immediately or to wait is even better. The last card coming for the set is the grade 3 heal trigger, Xingqin Flower Maiden Fiorenza. I think this card is very good in this deck, particularly when going first. You can use it to damage yourself and sack it with Vera's first skill, and then send it back to deck, therefore not really wasting it at all. Running right into the core explanation of this deck. There's no true win-con or fundamental turn with this list or concept. We're just aiming to consistently and constantly put the pressure on our opponent with high power, criticals, and a compressed deck until they crack. As such, effectively, we're just looking to outvalue our opponent. We're going to abuse our easy +2 boards so that way we can hold more guards in hand, and in triggers, we can send them back and just have on average a higher guard and higher trigger output than our opponent would. Tokens are also easy units to swap out for in-deck rearguards as well. As such, I wanted to max out on Musketeer names to keep consistency of getting Vera's +1 drive, and because each Musketeer also helps in the deck thinning its deck winning process. We aim to always be on Vera and aim to always have a Saul on board to resolve Vera's second skill. As such, we are on 4 and 4 obviously. Then I want as many token generators as possible, as these are the easiest units to retire for skills. We're running 4 copies of Pansy Musketeer Sylvia and 4 copies of Water Lily Musketeer Ruth as costless methods of token generators. Water Lily Musketeer Ruth doubles as a source of countercharge as well. Now here's where I want to find more deck thinning. In this slot, I've opted to run 4 copies of Penny Musketeer Tour as a way to convert the weak tokens on board into a board plus if we are heavy on the Musketeer name idea. Next up, I'm looking for some threatening attackers. In these slots, I'm running 4 copies of Puny Musketeer Martina with the ability to gain 5k and a critical when called from deck. This card helps put on the aggression early very well. If you high roll and you can convert a token into Martina, you're really putting your opponent in a pinch here. I'm also running 2 copies of Anturium Musketeer Gaston as a simple 18k attacker or booster before buffs when it's placed from the deck. Lastly, I run 3 copies of Dandelion Musketeer Mirka. She doubles not only as a token generator, but also as a unit that gets stronger and stronger as you keep calling units and converting them into stronger and stronger ones. To round out this deck, I ran 4 copies of Valkyrie of Reclamation Padmini. The reasoning for this is honestly just hopefully a way to get Vera into hand. The difference between having to ride Martina and Vera is night and day, and going first, you want to make sure that you are abusing that advantage, and you'll definitely want that extra drive. At the same time, Padmini can also pick up the new grade 3 heal triggers. This plays into a line such as going first, damaging yourself on grade 3, resolve Vera, send the Padmini and the grade 3 back to deck to convert them into 2 other Musketeers, who might even be just ways to convert even more plus to board. For our trigger lineup, I've opted into the standard 8 crit enforced draw sentinels. What's important to note that it's these crits that are mandatory, the 4 crits that are Musketeer named, and the other one is just too spicy to not run. Now, what other options could we consider? White Lily Musketeer Cecilia at low counts can not only increase your Musketeer name output, but also provide an alternative grade 3 ride should you miss Vera. In later testing, if you find that the extra drive you got off of Vera is low impact, as such, you can actually consider cutting Musketeer names from your deck. I think focusing on token gameplay is also valid, as there's a lot of raw value off of the Neo Nectar cards that play off of them, such as Maiden of Fallvine, being able to pseudo-convert plant tokens into herself a 15k attacker, as she does draw a card back when you call herself over one, and Maiden of Nepenthes is able to convert a plant token into a card in hand, and then become a 15k booster, which also provides your Vanguard a crit pressure. It is fairly obvious, but the ideal rides for the deck is Ruth into Sylvia into Vera, as riding into Ruth and Sylvia is able to get you 2 plant tokens, which are then the easiest ones to retire off of Vera's skill, assuming that you have been guarding as well, i.e. with criticals, or maybe grade 1s, you will still be able to meet the condition of being able to send 2 cards back to deck and then convert those plant tokens into viable attackers, such as Martina, maybe Gaston, and even Saul. Vera and Saul introduce another familiar but fairly unique playstyle to the Neo Nectar clan, playing off of tokens, unit cycling, and deck thinning. I'm not sure how this deck will fare in the meta, as it is, in essence, fairly RNG reliant off of its superior calls, but I can assure you, with how many actions you are doing per turn, it will be very fun to play. That is it from me on today's segment of Clan Collection Cores, and I will catch you next time. Toku out.